Welcome to another episode of the Shortsighted podcast, brought to you from a nighttime hotel with zero awesome lighting and a slightly tired Jake. We're talking to Kaitlin tonight, morning for her, 5 something a.m. for her. She went from -2 diopters to not wearing glasses, or in her case, contact lenses, hardly ever at all, in a span of barely over a year. So -2 diopters to just poof. No more lens use in a year. And there's kind of, I don't want to say is a trick, but she definitely had help. If you want to listen to that, I think it was a real interesting conversation. Unlike the last one, this one went kind of quick and easy, but still, we talk a lot about how to get past the last little quarter half diopter. Here we go.
I mean, technically my prescription was -2.25, but I kind of think that might have been an overshot. I think maybe my eyesight might have been at about -2, but technically my prescription started at -2.25.
Okay. And currently you're not wearing anything, apparently, anyways.
Yeah. Yep. No. Yep. I don't wear anything. My journey was actually pretty quick. I basically got rid of my contacts and glasses last summer, and have just been going solo since then.
Wait, how long ago did you start?
So I started last February with learning how to teach my eyes how to active focus. Mm-hmm. And then that was kind of when my journey started. And it was the beginning of February. So what I did was I normally had worn contacts rather than glasses. So I decreased my prescription in kind of increments of 0.5. So I started with, for example, -1.75. I just kind of jumped straight onto there and let my eyes adapt. And the entire thing was actually really, really quick. It only took about 4 weeks for my eyes to seemingly adapt about a quarter, about 0.25. And it basically did that all the way until about -0.5. And then it's been slower since then, but from the initial kind of -2.25 to 0.5, it was only about 5.5, 6 months.
Oh man, I'm gonna get so much crap for this.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked. It was so fast, and it was easy. I was like, I've been doing this my whole life. It was amazing.
How was finding active focus? Any challenge there, or did you just get it?
There was a little bit of challenge. I probably spent a couple days really practicing it before I feel like I kind of got it. And I did that with just basically holding a book in front of my face and, trying to get my eyes to adapt to that little bit of blurriness there. It took a couple of days, but honestly, like once I got it the first time, it was easy since then. It was sort of that initial getting over the hump with it.
How is your screen and distance use? Do you have any hobbies that involve distance vision? People are going to ask why this was so fast and easy for you. I can already feel it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Yes, so I will note something that I think helped immensely was I'm a very avid hiker. So I did a lot of hiking. Once or twice a week, I would go and I would basically be in the mountains. So, and I would always notice the day after I came back from a big trip in the mountains, like just there was an immediate improvement in my distance vision. So definitely, I did do a lot of hiking, and that was I really think that was key in why my journey was so quick.
And did you always hike? Has this always been a thing, or is it more recent?
It's within the past 4 or 5 years. So
you were doing it before you started this whole thing for a while, right?
Sorry, what was that?
So hiking was a thing before you started the whole vision improvement journey.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, it was. Yeah, for a few years.
That's cool. So fair amount of time outside, and then screen use, phone stuff, work. Do you spend a lot of time in front of screens?
Yes, actually. Yeah. So actually, I mean, not currently, I just switched jobs, but prior to that, yeah, I had spent like 4 years just essentially working a desk job, working in marketing. So I used screens almost all day. And I found that, I guess, before I didn't actually find that it seemed to worsen my vision, at least in terms of my prescription that I started with, the minus 2.25. It had been like that for, I don't know, forever, 8 or 9 years. Like, it had never changed. It had never gotten worse. So it's interesting. I'm not sure if my screen use worsened my vision, but I did notice after I started my journey improving my vision that I actually used my screen use to help improve my vision, just by kind of sitting slightly back and kind of using that to practice the active focus on the screen. I actually found that to be quite helpful, as well as, I really made it intentional to take those. I took regular breaks. Like, I would set a timer for half an hour and then kind of move away for like 5 minutes, because I definitely, once I became aware of that like eye strain, then it was very noticeable.
When did you first get glasses? Glasses or contact lenses?
Contacts. I've pretty much primarily always worn contacts. I got them early. I think I was maybe, want to say 14, something like that. And I'm 27, so yeah, I had worn them for over a decade.
Fun. And then you just got rid of them all easy and in one. It's so funny, because the reason I ask about the activities is because we just had a conversation yesterday with somebody who's been kind of stuck for the last 2 years, right? And it's just a little less than a diopter a year is normal, and once in a while somebody does super well. And a lot of times there's that common theme of, you have some kind of super regular activity that you had before you started and you had since, that gets you outside a lot. That seems super helpful.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely see that, and I would definitely say that was the case for me. That was like the key. I actually, I do attribute my really quick progress to all of the hiking I did. There was just such a noticeable improvement. Even actually, it was funny. I do remember last summer, I went on like just a 3-day trip into the mountains, and I remember at that time I just sort of decreased my my contacts at that point. I think it was at like, I decreased it to like 1 or something, -1. And I noticed that just when I came back from that 3-day trip, that all of a sudden, like, that seemed to be my eyesight. It seemed to be easy all in like 3 days. And it's just like, oh my goodness. Like, I really think that spending all of this time, like in the mountains, like essentially getting really far distance vision was just such a helpful and key thing to kind of rapidly making those distance gains.
Yeah. And I just want to point this out, because to people who listen, you can't, the rapid reductions don't work for everybody. And again, super important is that if you had a consistent habit before that required distance vision, and now you're adding these reductions, you can make surprisingly faster improvements. But for a lot of people whose life is primarily indoors in front of screens, it tends to be a lot slower. I'm just saying this because, like, people cherry pick these kind of conversations where it's like, ooh, somebody did quick and easy, and then they over reduce, and then you still wear the half diopter contact lenses a lot?
No. So so what I did was I had still worn my contacts up to minus 0.75, and then after that, that's when I just stopped wearing them entirely. So other than occasionally, like say at night or driving, but yeah, I would say since even then, so I got rid of the contacts at about minus 0.75, and then I still noticed kind of a normal for me, kind of a quicker improvement to maybe 0.5, and then minus 0.5. But actually, I've noticed since then, like that I guess jump or that leap to just 2020 has been so much slower and harder since then. Yeah, I didn't. I guess I wasn't expecting it to be, because I had gotten used to my eyesight improving so rapidly. I was sort of like, well, why isn't it improving as quickly anymore now that I'm almost there? Like, I'm so close. Why isn't it improving? But I would say even right now, my eyesight's probably like negative 0.25. It's not 2020. It's close, but it's not quite there. And it's been, I think it's been about 8 months from that little quarter diopter minus 0.5 to minus 0.25. Yeah, it's probably been about 8 months. So longer than my entire previous journey. That it almost feels, it's almost frustrating to me, but I guess that's normal to have that slow down.
The last little bit is always difficult. And this is another thing people like to cherry pick the rare times that I mention it, that sometimes playing with reading glasses plus lenses for some of your close-up, and in your case, possibly even a tiny bit for distance. This is not a recommendation for anybody else. I'm just saying this for you. Like, take a pair of half diopter reading glasses, so plus 0.5, and bring them with you on a hike and just wear them for like 10 minutes. Just because what it does is goes the opposite direction, right? So now your distance vision is like extra challenged a tiny little bit, not the whole time, not extensively, just a little bit of a little extra challenge as you're wandering around, and then take them back off and know that things may seem even clearer than they were before. You can play the same kind of thing with an eye chart. So you can do the eye chart before you go for a hike, do the reading glasses, and then see if the eye chart's any better after. If that works for you, and it doesn't work for everybody, it's definitely a case-by-case experience. You can increase that temporary wear to add a little bit of challenge, a little bit, just to give yourself that extra boost, especially when you're no longer using any corrections. So there's no more stepping down. Like, there's no more that. What's super handy in where you're at before is like the challenge renewed itself, and your habits jumped back in, and things got a little bit more difficult, and now you're just kind of coasting, right? So sometimes it's the level of challenge is missing for the biology to go, oh, I need to do something about where we're currently at. So just very experimentally, a little bit of plus lens use could help you get the rest of the way there.
Right. Yeah. Great. Okay. Yeah. That's a great tip. That is kind of the way it feels like. It's almost like things are a bit too easy for my eyes, and they're not. They're not, like, because I find when I'm just in full outdoor settings, like I almost always have 20/20 vision. It's just more when it's lesser light or I'm indoors that it's not quite there. And I'm thank you. That's a great suggestion. Do you find that is for yourself and others who have gotten to that full 20/20, has that been key, or is that part of just for those that's difficult?
The problem is it can work, but people are always looking for a shortcut. And whether it's a pill or vitamin or just a thing where you don't actually have to be involved or interact, and they hear plus lenses, they're like, oh, I'm going to pop this on, I'm going to wear it all day, and way overuse it. Or the age range, like if you're in your late 40s, 50s, it might start presbyopia symptoms. Or you just go, I'm going to substitute this for going outside, and they just have way too much screen time. In all those scenarios, that's not the issue, right? So I don't like recommending it, because people have a massive screen addiction. They have no outdoor hobbies, and they're looking for some other way other than addressing the elephant in the room. Plus lenses are not the answer, right? But if you're already all dialed in, and you're only kind of stuck, because what we're assuming, right? Because we don't know, but it's that there's no more new challenge to adopt to. and you're doing already everything else, this can help. Like I use plus lenses occasionally, not very often because I don't have that much screen time. We do it, I shouldn't even say this, but we've done it for athletes and pilots and people who are already doing everything else well, where that extra challenge has its place. For the casual user, it's just like, people eat like low fat yogurt to try to lose weight or to have a salad at McDonald's. It's like that substituting behavior instead of addressing the real problem. So it can help when everything else is sorted. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. I'm definitely gonna try that out.
And no rush also. And it's not a big deal because the biology takes time to adopt, right? Like when you're making reductions this fast, if you would have started this at -4, you would have at some point plateaued because your eyes, your brain, everything just doesn't catch up that fast, right? Like some of it is margin, like maybe you're corrected more than you needed to be in the first place. Some of it is finding active focus. Some of it is reducing strain. You put everything together, that can be like a diopter, So from a -2, you can get to -1 with just better habits, less strain, and active focus. 90 days, sometimes people improve by a diopter, but then you're kind of out of margin, and then you're starting to push it. And then at some point, the biology just goes, okay, I need time to catch up. So if you reduce more than every 3 to 4 months, realistically past that point of margin, then at some point you just get kind of hung up where everything needs to catch up, or you end up with some astigmatism or something else. So you're low enough and you had good enough habits to get you just right where you're at right now. Having those 8 months is great, right? Like it's much better than pushing it harder, ending up with too many reductions. Super commonly, people end up with this transient astigmatism, I call it, like where you just get like ghosting and a little bit of double vision, but you're still fine in that range where you were. But yeah, it's a little bit of a different journey for everybody, but the 8 months is not a big deal. And from here, no hurry, right? Like I know the last little bit can be frustrating, but there's no big rush, and just a little bit, throwing a little bit of plus lens use in there, and not trying to push that to where you're like, okay, this is the answer that I'm going to be told 2020 in the next 3 months. Like just as a, give yourself another 6 months.
Yeah, for sure. That would be great. I have been impatient just because I've been, I'm actually a student, or I had returned to school, and, so I was sitting in a classroom and I was noticing that, it was depending on where I was sitting, I was like, I can't see the board. Like I can't read it. So it's like, I've got to get my vision to 2020 here. So I don't need to go back to glasses, but, yeah.
And those situations are also fine, right? Because again, like it's not a race. And if you're finding yourself in a place like that where artificial light, small writing on a board that may not be that, or a projection or whatever it is, where you're like, okay, this is not ideal anyway, and I'm not in great light, your pupils are wider open, right? Like, so that's an issue in the first place. And then rods and cones switch depending on how much light is available. So adverse lighting condition, they're always going to be behind in your vision from where you are with good natural light. So situation like that, when you're like, okay, don't be too proud to go that half diopter or that minus 0.75 would get me to be able to see this. And then I'm going to use this time to practice active focus. It's going to be better than either sitting in blur or overstraining, right? Like pride is also often a thing where people are just like, no, I already made it this far. I will not put these things in, where you might actually benefit from a little bit of help, right? Like that would give you more stimulus possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely found myself in that category. I was like, no, like, come on, eyes, just see it. Just come on, just clear it up. It should be easy.
Yeah. But that's fine, right? Like adverse lighting conditions always going to lag behind. I used to take evening walks. I used to go for walks that start around when close to sunset, when the light's still good. And then as the light goes down, it's like the challenge just increases and increases till I got to the point where I'm like, okay, now I need to put on -1s. Like when it would just get too dark. And I would just be like, try to extend that time and just try to be, how far can I go where this is still useful till, okay, now it doesn't work anymore. And just accepting, right? Like I'm not quite there yet. But that can take a little time. Like, especially going from a place where you're always wearing these things to where you pick and choose and then you use it kind of productively is totally worth it.
Right. For sure. And do you find that even over time, like for yourself, for example, that you can, even in adverse lighting conditions, can you always see 20/20 now? Like, can you get to that?
Not always. No. Like if we had this Zoom conversation now, and this is not very great lighting. If I were to, I'm not going to, but if I were to edit this after and then post it, and then I've done stuff like that in the past. I don't anymore. And then spend time till midnight in front of the screen, and then go outside trying to go for a scooter ride in a little fishing town that's not particularly well lit, and kind of iffy. Because ciliary spasm, I sat in front of this thing for hours and hours. There are definitely times where it's like, okay, I need a break. I'm going to need an hour. I need my eyes to refocus. It's definitely, even with 20/20, you can still find yourself in situations where you get ciliary muscle spasm or you overstrain your eyes, and it'll take a minute, right? Like I'm not going to go, well, I don't anymore, but like stock trading and business stuff in the evening and then go ride a motorbike to go meet friends. Like that's iffy. Like I'll be like, okay, if I'm going to go drive a motorbike at night in the city, then before then I'm not going to do a bunch of screen time, because for sure that can be iffy and perfectly normal, right? Like there's lots of people that have never needed glasses that are not really paying attention to the stuff. If you used an eye chart, or if you took them outside at night and be like, hey, read me the street sign, not everybody's going to do well all the time. Like vision's variable, right? Like we're kind of spoiled by the optometrists selling us things that give us like the best possible case scenario vision. That's an overcorrection that a lot of people with natural vision don't necessarily have.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I've been wondering about that because right now I'm just comparing my vision to what I was used to for over 10 years with my prescription, and like my vision is perfect. Like, nighttime didn't matter. Like I didn't know that wasn't normal, I suppose, for people who had. I assumed that was natural vision because that was what I got used to. But it's good to hear that might not necessarily be the case. Just so I don't get super frustrated if suddenly it's nighttime and I'm having a little bit of struggle, and no, I thought my eyes were fixed by now. But yeah, it's interesting to know that. I guess that you're right. That cell of that overcorrection is it's definitely alluring. You're like, great. Who wouldn't want to be able to see perfectly all the time?
Yeah. And another thing, and I've told this story a few times, I used to keep -1 or -1 something diopter glasses in my motorbike. I generally don't have cars. I always ride motorbikes. And just for nighttime use, it was like steroids. Like my vision was already fine. I would never use glasses for anything else. They were just in my motorbike. So at nighttime, I could put them on. And if I wear them more for 20 minutes, I get a headache because they were definitely overcorrecting. But I just get super crazy sharp vision. Eventually that stopped working. Eventually my natural vision got to the point where I remember one night I put them on expecting this like yay amount, and they did nothing. And I'm like, all right, that sucks. But I guess that's where my vision is already at. Like I'm seeing the same, barely makes any difference. Don't even notice it. But that took a while, right? Like, and what I was saying about the classroom use, there's nothing wrong with like additional clarity to challenge your vision, or additional clarity just to remind your brain, like, this is what's possible, right? Like it's super common. Like reducing fast is super common. And the pride of being like, I'm here and I deserve this and I made it here and this is mine and I'm not putting on glasses. And the fear or like the rejection when your eyes are just like, no, I'm not seeing this. Accepting that sometimes these things are helpful and make sense. I like glasses more than contacts because they're still more crutchy. You're more likely to take them off when you're done with them. They're not that comfortable. But it's like it's fine to weed off, and still apply stuff when it makes sense and when it helps.
Right. For sure. That makes sense.
But we're still going to tell the story as you started at -2 and now you never need glasses ever.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll edit out all the rest of it. Yay.
Yeah. And that's to say, I mean, mostly I don't. That is true. It's really just in those more adverse light situations. So like it's in, like I said, it's like in school or, nighttime. Not that I do too much walking around or driving at night, but when I do, I'll notice some difficulties there. But for the most part, I honestly, I feel like my vision's, it's pretty good. I mean, it is somewhat close to 2020. So and frequently it is 2020. So, it feels amazing actually to just kind of have this vision that is pretty much great from, wearing contacts for over 10 years. And it's been, it's technically been, a little over a year. I just started it early last year. So it's pretty cool. I'm very thankful. I kind of, discovered you and your program, your knowledge. Really, it's great. It's such a life changer, and it's something that I feel like it's very doable for anyone, so long as you're willing to invest the time and really. I think more is more about the patience to do it, but I think it's really doable for anyone.
And you're still in your 20s. You found it early, so that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And if and when you do the kids thing, they won't need glasses, like it'll pay off all the way down the road.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny. I've told all my family, I've told all my friends, and, then everyone, the number one common reaction is like, what? No, you didn't. Like, that's not even true. Like, you can't do that. That's not possible. Like, I always get that reaction. I'm like, I swear, like, I'm not, people think I'm making it up. I'm not making it up. I think it's just common understanding that, okay, your vision's decreased. That's the way it is for the rest of your life. You can't improve it, but you definitely can. So I definitely tell people, and I really try to encourage them to, you can only go so far, right? Hey, do what you will with this. But it's so great.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that, because I think even if your friends don't believe it, people that listen to the show or watch this stuff do, and they need the encouragement and they need to hear it from people. So it's super awesome that you came and took the time and hopefully inspired some people to be on the same journey.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, that was Kaitlin. Hopefully useful. Right? Like I try to do these. I say this every time. If you have suggestions, feedback, comments, stuff, shoot me an email, send me a message, let me know. I keep doing these. I'm trying to do them semi-regularly. It seems like once a month is the thing right now. I hope to do them forever and ever. I want you to hear about lots of people doing this. I hope that you maybe one day will have a chat with me about how your eyes are doing. That's it. Hopefully, we'll catch you in the next one.